I started on a windowsill too, so you're going in the right direction, and that's excellent, and that can work. It really can. So what I'll do is say, well, first of all, welcome. I'm glad you're all here. Welcome to my nightmare because this is like the area of my world that I would never want to show anyone. I have nightmares about people seeing my dungeon cave, dirty basement. So just the fact that I'm opening this up for you guys is like huge. But so what I'll do is what I'd like to start with is just to say how important trustees is, and it's great. I won't talk long about it, but one of the things about trustees that has helped me for so long is that in them saving and saving our spaces in the cities and in Massachusetts and around the city of Boston, all over, they're saving us because all of those things are healing and it helps us. So I just want to point that out because I'm grateful to them. And then also they offered up these great workshops, and I'll just mention if you didn't see any, there's Annabelle did one that was excellent, but Michael Twitty's, if you can, I think they put a link up if you can find it. It was inspiring. I took notes the entire time. The way he looks at gardening and growing and cooking and people, and it's just so relevant and important. And I was incredibly inspired by him. So I think Annabelle will probably put up a link for you at some time. So I just want to say that one of the things that I feel like a lot of people do is they grow other people's gardens. You see other people's gardens. You grow what's available to you at the nurseries instead of growing what you want. So much of starting from seeds, I didn't realize there's so much more that we can grow and so much more we can share because I share seeds with people and they share them back to me with me, and it's huge. There's so much more that we can grow, and I feel like I'm always telling people, don't grow someone else's garden. You got to grow your own, make it yours. There's a journey to finding what your garden is, and that's a beautiful journey. I started on a windowsill. I started small, and then I'll show you some pictures in a few minutes, and you're going to be like, "That's insane! She grew all that in her basement." It's totally doable, and that's the other thing I want to stress is that it's it's very easy. You can constantly feel overwhelmed. I know I did for so many years. You feel very overwhelmed with what you're seeing, and then you see pictures of this garden. Oh, and that's perfect, and over there. But in the journey in finding your own garden, growing what you want, and then being able to take that and add your own seeds to it, making sure that you're growing what you want and what inspires you and what you love, just makes that really your garden. It makes it your space. When I come down here, I come down in the morning and I'm connecting with nature in a way that, like, I don't anywhere else. And it just calms me and it begins my day. It's very mindful. And I think that, yes, it's a bummer that it's in my dirty basement, but I don't realize it's in my basement. I don't realize that that's where I am. I come down and I'm just connecting. I'm connecting in a way that makes me feel like I'm truly a part of the garden that I want to have and aspire to have. Um, and so I really do want you to know how easy this is, and I'm going to show you and take you through it. And then in finding your garden, now everyone's garden is different. Mine was because I work so much with kids and I have young children. Mine was always about it being a learning garden. I wanted it to be a space for my children to not feel like they have to watch out for every little thing. I wanted to embrace a little chaos, and it served me well because now they're little gardeners. They're crazy little. One of them's going to be like crazier than me someday, or maybe just in a couple weeks. But so that was what was important for me. It's what can my kids learn in this space. So we made sure to grow things, and I'll show you some pictures in a minute. But to grow things and to just kind of go with the flow of what was already growing in the yard and what we could add to it. wildlife is very important to me. So we grew a lot of things to bring snakes into the yard and habitats for snakes. We brought in hummingbirds. We had never seen hummingbirds in the city because I live right in the city in Boston. We get monarch butterflies like crazy now. I mean, the stuff that we can grow and we start from seed is it, it really can be changing for everybody you bring into your garden. Okay. And then I'll just say one quick thing. One of the things about my son is he's 11 now, but uh, one year he wanted to grow a purple garden just out of the blue, said, I'm just going to grow purple stuff. He was 6 then. And just to give you a little, he's a little crazy now because he said to me the other day, I said, well, what does he want to grow this year? And he said, and he thought about it. He said, well, we could grow everything you need so that we can make our own bread. And I was like, oh my gosh, now you're stressing me out. No, we can't do that too much. And he's like, yeah, we could even go to the ocean. You can get salt. We live at the ocean. And I was like, okay, my kid's crazy. But what I have done is create a space for him to feel like he can grow anything. And that is important. I think if you work with children, there's nothing that they can't grow. And then just the magic of that, the way that made me feel, in that he's like, let's grow the wheat, let's grow this, that. And it's that to me brought things full circle for me recently. So I wanted to just say that. So I will also say this setup works for me. I think one of the things we have to be careful of is that we try to find a seedling setup or a garden that doesn't fit you. So you have to make sure that this might be too big. And I'll go through why I have two, because they're all different heights and stuff and everything grows. You just have to make sure that it's what fits you and not try to duplicate what someone else is doing. So this works for me. All the mess, all the craziness, it works for me. And then I'm just going to mention a couple pros and cons, and then I'll show you some pictures. So the pros I already mentioned. I come down, it's time alone, and just connecting. You're here for a reason watching this, so you understand what I'm saying, and you don't think I'm a total nut job. I'm connecting with the little seed that's just the beginning of something wonderful, and there's nothing better than that to me. I feel like I am lucky that I get to grow these things and plant them outside for birds, for my children, for other kids, because we share stuff in our community. We grow seedlings for friends and family and stuff. I start my day here, and it really does. I feel lucky to be able to do that. You're connecting with nature. You all understand that already, and you save money. Seedlings are expensive. I buy a lot of things locally. I like to support Allendale and all of Trustees, all of the places that you can find seedlings, and but it's a lot of money. Sometimes I have like 100 seedlings. Think of how much money that costs. Oh, forget it. I wouldn't be able to have the garden I wanted. So that's why seeds are important. They're also important because you are now in the process of being a part of something bigger, where you're now saving seeds, honoring seeds, and the system of seeds. And that's important because we have lost so many seeds. And I think it's also important that you grow things that are different from what you just see in the nursery. Everyone knows about sun gold tomatoes, but my favorite is blush, or this peach. It looks like a peach. It's this tomato that looks like a peach, and it's amazing. So there are all these tomatoes that I know of now that are very different from what I was used to when I first started. So that's another thing that drove me to start seedlings, saving the money, and then and you get to choose what you want to grow. This is so critical. I never even realized all the different flowers that I could start to grow until I started growing from seeds. And every year we have this tradition in my family where we choose one new thing a year. Ollie, of course, chose wheat this year. Forget it, not going to happen, but don't tell him that. Maybe we will, but every year they're a part of it. that we tried Brussels sprouts. We tried growing all these different things. And this wacky cucumber, you probably, know of this lemon cucumber. We tried all these different things and they're a part of that. So that's important to me. And then the last thing, the cons, the only con that I can come up with, well, is that your friends and neighbors are going to love your seedlings and they're going to want them every year. So now you're stuck. Once you start giving them seedlings, forget it. They're gonna want them. I already started giving. People call me in January. Wait, am I getting that crazy tomato that you grew last year? Can I have another one of those? And yeah, so that's not really a con unless you don't want to grow a lot. But I do, and I share them. So I have I'm going to show you a couple pictures and share my screen. I have done smaller setups. I have done, seedlings in the windowsills. We do seedlings at schools and stuff. But this seedling center and this setup works so well that now I'm doing it in schools. And it's you can have seedling setups that can cost anywhere from $500 to $700. This one of these is about $210. So it's drastically cheaper. I haven't had to repurchase any of the lights or I paid that money 10 years ago, put it into it, or even maybe 8 years ago, and everything's still working. Sometimes you might have to replace a bulb. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to just show a couple of pictures so you can, because I can't show you where things would be, I'm going to show you a couple pictures of my of it in full swing with a lot of seedlings. Now there we are in our pajamas. We come down. I think you can probably see that. Annabelle, you tell me if you can't, but it's a picture of me and the boys before even having breakfast. We come down. They help me put all the dirt in. We do all the transplants and all of that, and they love it. I mean, what kid doesn't like getting super dirty? But that's one of the things that we do together. And then these are tomatoes. You can see these are really healthy, great little tomatoes. I start them in little seed, and I'll show you everything, in my little seed pods, the little trays, and then I transplant them into yogurt cups, and boom, there you go. And then that becomes that. And you go outside. So those are tomatoes, but I even have more than that because I start dahlias down here. I start elephant ears, all my bulbs, basil, yes, tomatoes, of course, you can see. But there's so much more you can start in if you have the right setup. So I will show you. So this is a storage unit I purchased at Lowe's. That was the cheapest that I could find. You might be able to find it elsewhere. The great thing about Ace is they're all local owners. So if you can reach out to, I have a great guy in Rosendale who has the Ace hardware store, and he's wonderful because he can, sometimes he goes and will find me exactly what I'm looking for at the same price that you might get it somewhere else. And this one does not have wheels. I'll speak to that because some of you may want to have the wheels on the bottoms. At schools, they need to be able to move it around to clean. So we have to make sure it has wheels on the bottom to move it around. And that costs just a little bit more. It might be around $100 at that point. So for me, I didn't need that because mine are going to stay put. So that's a shelving unit. You want it to be waterproof. Because and dirty, it's going to get dirty and wet. And then at Home Depot was the cheapest place that I have found these very, not fancy at all. The grow lights that I use are just shop lights, $13. Now you'll see behind me, I have 3 per shelf. You do not need 3. You can do it with 2 or even 1. I have 3 only because I had extra. With COVID, I had to go and take some supplies out of a school and I just hung them here. So because I didn't want to put them into storage. So I'll go over all of that in 1 minute. I just wanted to show you these. The bulbs are, you could buy a 10 pack, $25 or anywhere between $25 and $30. And I've had these for so long. I can't remember the last time I had to buy bulbs. And then the last shot is we recycle and reuse so much. And these are blinds. We just cut them up and those become our labels. You just do them with, excuse me, with Sharpies. Easy. And then I'll show you the yogurt cups, my water bottles, all of that. It's very easy to recycle and reuse everything. So let me, I just want to be able to mention that, okay, let's see. So for the shelf, I already said waterproof. You want it to be sturdy, but you also want to make sure, the most important thing that I think people don't realize, you have to level it out. It's so important to make sure it's level, because you don't want some of your seedlings to get more water than another area, because they'll die, they'll drown. And I had this happen, and that's why I tell everybody now, make sure it's level. However you need to make it level, then you do that, because it's very important. Then the shop lights, I did show you the shop lights. So I'll just show you the box that it comes in. This is easy, you know, it's just no nonsense shop light. You do not need anything other than a light fixture. This one is so super dusty. Sorry, I took this out of a school. So, but yes, this is very easy to put on. You just want to make sure that you have the chains. And I'll show you that too. Make sure you have chains, because that is, your seedlings are going to grow and you're going to need to raise the lights. That is one thing I'm going to go over in a minute. And you have the option now of using LED lights, which I just did not purchase when I first started out, but you can use the LED lights. And these are great. The only thing you really need to know is they get hotter. You cannot have them as close to your seedlings as you want them. Normally you want to stay 2 inches away from your seedlings. With this, you really should stay 4 inches away. And because you can you'll burn them and they will not do well. So just take that into account. I bet there's some more information online about that, but because I don't use them, I do know that much at least. And so that's that. The shop lights, and then my seed starting kits is the next thing I'm going to show you, because everybody does their own. I've just found what works for me. Everybody does their own seeds their own way, but I have found that this works for me. I love these from gardeners.com. Gardeners is great. Oh, and I'll show you. Ooh. So what I do is I start them in a 20, this is 24 cell, and I'll do, these are my tomatoes, it's already coming up. I start them in this 24 because when I put them into my yogurt cups, and this is my basil, cute, right? Come on, it's cute, and I wish you could smell it. But when I put them into the yogurt cups, it is 24 of these will add up and fit nicely into my it fits into this, which is the 24 of these fit into this boot box. This is a boot box. You can use anything, but this one fits in my size, and it gets heavy, but it's good enough that, you know, not too heavy that I can't carry it around. This fits 24 of the yogurt cups. So one of those cells, like one of these full kit there, will then fit into one of these. Now, what's great about this is it can fit on my shelf easily, front to back, okay? And that just makes it much easier for me, so I know that I have enough space. If I'm doing 24 tomatoes and all 24 of those grow and start, then I have space, because I can put 24 right into that container. Now that container I'll talk about in another minute, because I do put pebbles at the bottom of that, which is something I learned to do a while ago, because otherwise you'll be watering constantly and it's a nightmare. Fans. You want my tomatoes grow so strong, and that is the main reason why everybody wants them. They're so sturdy and strong. Not that everybody wants them. Oh my gosh, I sound obnoxious. I don't mean to sound like that. Not everybody wants them, but they're strong, and the fans are the reason why. I don't put them on when they're young. I put the fans on as they get a little bit older and the seedlings start to, I increase it before I end up leaving it on all the time. And I turn and rotate the seedlings as well. Especially tomatoes, they're going to be holding a lot of heavy fruit. You want them to be strong right away. So I have not started the fans yet, but you can see the clip-on fans that I have throughout. Can you see these? Much easier to use clip-on fans. I know some people I've heard they go in with a blow dryer and blow dry them. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of work. This system needs very little help from me once I set it up. And I'll talk about that a little bit more too. And okay, this is another very big deal. You have to have water access near you. Part of the reason why I'm in the basement is, first of all, it's messy and I'm messy and I just embrace it. But water access. You're going to be watering your seedlings a lot. You want to have water nearby you. You just really need to not have to worry about bringing water with you. If your only location in your home or at school or anywhere you're doing this is not near water, that's okay too. Just be aware of that. Bring water with you instead of making multiple trips. When I first started out, it was just maddening because I was like, oh, I'd water them and then they need more. And then, so that can be a lot of work. The other thing is that you could also go to you want to make sure you're near access to outdoors, because the reason why, when you're starting seedlings on your own, you're going to need to harden off your seedlings. For me, that means bringing them in and out. And I hadn't thought of this when I first started, because I had to carry all of my seedlings from my second floor out the front door, and I was leaving a trail of dirt. It was like my husband and I was just not happy with me. And, the dog was thrilled because I would leave clumps of dirt along. He was just thrilled. But you want to make sure that you can get in and out with these trays. That's very important, because once they're wet, full of water, and they're going to get heavier, they're going to get bigger, you want to be able to go right outside. And I have access to go outside over there. So it works for me. Keep that in mind. Also, a timer. You want to make sure you have a timer set. You will not always remember to shut off your lights. I did that for a while too. The tricky part about doing it in a windowsill right now is that your seedlings need 16 hours. And they need, normally people say, yes, 16 hours of daylight. So we don't have that right now. So that's why you want to supplement with extra light. You don't want to keep the light on constantly. It's very important you have 16 hours of light on, because the 8 hours, you just want a chunk of time that it's off, because they need rest and sleep and darkness like us too. They can't grow. You'll have leggy seedlings. Trust me, I tried it. I was like, oh no, I want tomatoes and I want them in 2 weeks. I'm going to grow them. It doesn't work like that. They have to grow because they have to grow strong. You need to make sure that you put, 16 hours now. I'll also say I reduce that as they're about to go outside. I think about where I'm going to put them in my garden. And I know there's not 16 hours of light in the area that I'm going to be putting them. So I figure out what it is that I'm going to, where I'm going to put them, how many hours of light is in that space. And I usually it's about 12 hours. So I'll reduce it as I get closer to hardening them off, because it's going to be quite a shock for them to go outside and then not get the light that they're used to. So that's just something to take into consideration as you work with the timer. The timer is very important. A power outlet. As you can see, my father is an electrician. He would have a heart attack if he ever saw this setup, but you can see So I do something where I have each of my plugs into different power outlets. I keep a lot of some stuff in that plastic barrel to keep it from getting wet, and some wires and stuff. I've taken stuff out for you to see, but it's important for you to not be unsafe with this system, because you're not going to check it every day. The best part of this is that I can go a couple days, few days, and I don't have to check. But you will need to, because there's water around. So just be safe. Put wires and power outlets into a plastic bin if you can, and then put a hole. I just cut a hole out and pulled the wires out. Okay, the power outlet, and then the yogurt cups I talked about in the plastic boot. Now, the plastic boot boxes, I'm going to just take you over and show you some of this first before I talk specifically about the seed trays and the kits and the stuff that I recycle and reuse. So I'm going to pick you up and move you on over, and just let me know if you can't see everything. Okay. So now there's not much on my shelves right now, obviously, because we're just starting out. I do have my basil up here, and I grow some grass for, we have some chickens that I have. This stuff will be filled in at the bottom. It's going to be filled in with all, dahlias, elephant ears, all of that. I buy a 4 shelf. This is one of the things I forgot to mention before, but my shelving unit is 4 shelves. But I only build 3 shelves into it. I throw the other one away or reuse it on another shelving unit, because everything down here is going to grow bigger. You're going to need space. They might grow this close now, but before you know it, they're going to fill this space. You have to make sure there's space for them to grow under your grow lights. Okay. That's why these chains are very important. Your chains are going to, I think you can see that. The chains are going to let you raise them up or lower them down. But at a point, you're going to get to a point where you can't raise it up any higher. So you have to adjust. Don't put all 4 shelves if you get a full shelf. If you get a 3 shelf, same thing. I would suggest doing 2 shelves of it. So, and I'll show you my other unit. I have the 2 of these, so I'll show you the other side as well. But so there's about that one's probably a little deeper than these. And make sure that I'm going to bring you over and show you the other one, because that one is 3 shelf. 1, 2, 3. So that's the same thing. Okay. And okay, I think you can see. And that these are now taking up quite a bit of space, but they have the 2 inches, and they will have 2 inches. I'm going to lower these. I kind of raised everything up so that you could see. So it's not as realistic, but this is also these, as you go down, they're definitely not as deep. I mean, these are deeper. These are less deep because everything grows. One of the other things I wanted to mention, and I think I forgot, is that you're going to need, there you can see my dirty basement. Now that really is my nightmare. One of the things I wanted to point out to you is a heating mat. This was heating mats are very important, because you want to make sure if you're in the basement like me, they're going to get cold. So I leave my heating mat on them a little bit longer than some people might. Use a heating mat to when you're planting your seeds, because it aids in sprouting. But for me, I leave it on actually because it kind of gets a little chilly down here, and I want them to have a little more warmth, because I'm against the wall that is right outside. So now you're seeing my heating mats under all of these, but not everybody leaves them on. So I'm just saying that. I love this big one because it goes across the entire shelf. And I think you can see that there. It's the size of the shelf from the back all the way down to the side, down the end. And that is, you do not need that for every shelf. Do not buy 5 or 4 of those. You only need one because you would never use all of them. So for me, I always start my little babies up there. And then these are great because then they fit under the size of your tray, which is perfectly sized. It's a little bit longer than you need, but that's the perfect size that you'll need. And then I'll just, let's see. So, I have to show you. So we do a lot of, there's so many little tricks and stuff. We do a lot of saving and reusing and recycling. It's a big thing for us. People even drop yogurt cups off at our front door. My mailman's probably like, these people eat way too much yogurt. But these are the perfect size. You don't have to buy pots anywhere. Just eat lots of yogurt. And the kids at schools and stuff, they have things like this size. I just cut all the little holes in the bottom, and it just works perfectly. It's a perfect size, and you can take the labels off too. Works great. That's important because these can add up. This is another cost. So it's very inexpensive. Plus, it's taught my kids about recycling and reusing. We also recycle and reuse the water bottles. Now I'm going to talk about this because it seems ridiculous. I know I sound like a fool. This is the perfect watering tool for watering seedlings. It is, I have 20 of these, and my kids know if they touch them, they're in big trouble. These are the sports bottles, and they're, the best thing is they drip. I can show you. You don't want a lot of water coming out. Look how gentle you can control it. Just put a little bit. And then as they get bigger, you can squeeze it and you get more water. So I've never found anything that has worked as well as this. It sounds ridiculous, but if you can get your hands on the water bottle, the sport bottle, I'm telling you, it's the best thing. I've tried all sorts of watering systems and stuff, and they're all too much, too heavy. These seedlings, I mean, if you look, I'll show you. You guys already know this, but seedlings they're super delicate and super small, right? This is such a big thing. People don't realize. You just look at just a little bit of water, it just needs a little bit. But this also, just so you know, is a watering system inside. So it's very important for you to know there's water also inside. I'm not doing all my watering just from the top. I'm watering from the bottom, and it has the mat. I forget what it is, what kind of mat it is. I'm going to pull it out and show it to you. But that mat sucks up water, which then brings it across the base. Can you see that? And then it brings it across the base of the seedlings, and it comes up from the bottom. You can use, this is what I have found is sturdy and helpful for me. I've used so many different things. There's so many different trays that you can use. So use what you have. You do not need to buy, 20 of these. I only have a few of them, but it's worth it. It's gardeners.com. It's sturdy, it's strong, and they give you everything, including the lid. And they last. I've had this for so long. I've had these for a long time. So they last. And that's a key thing. Because the other ones, I don't know for you, but when I grab that or move it, it just snaps and breaks. They're super brittle. So they're not not as long lasting. Okay, so let me
we do have one question in the chat if you'd like. I can read it out to you.
Yes, of course. I know I'm just rambling. Sorry, I'm keep going on because I'm like, I want to get through it all.
Well, this one's relevant to what you were just describing.
Okay.
So Sydney writes in about how important is watering from the bottom, and what types of plants is that most useful for? Great question.
That's great. It is important to water from the bottom when your seedlings are babies, when they're small. I can't tell you how many times, I'll show you one of the little, like these guys up here. Oh, I do need to water these guys. Oops. So these are when they were tiny, when you have so many of them, you're gonna pour water on them, then they flatten out and they're done. So watering from the top when they're teeny tiny is just not smart. The only reason I'm watering these other ones from the top is because I can now, they're much more, they're a little bit stronger, so you can touch them. So that's kind of when I know, oh, you know what, these, they're a little more durable, so I can water around them. But for the most part, you do want to water from the bottom. Now, that's the next part of that question is for my other, this seed tray. These are my shallots and onions. Now, bear with me. I'm going to try to get it up on my knee so you can see. And I'm just realizing how really dirty everything is.
No, it's fine. We can see them. Yeah.
You can see this? Okay.
Yeah.
So each of these, if I water these a little bit from the bottom, but not a lot. If you level out, like I said, leveling out your shelf is the most important thing you can do. Once you level that out, you pour water in to the base of this pot after you put in your little seedlings, after you transplant them into your yogurt cups. You put them in here and the water, it will be absorbed from the base of it, from the bottom. Can you see the pebbles at the bottom?
Yeah. Yeah. I can see it a little bit now. Yep.
Yeah. So the pebbles act as two things I have found. It helps them pull up the water they need, but it also, if these start to root out, they're not like searching for, for plastic. They are, the roots will do better and stretch out if you have pebbles and a little dirt in the bottom, because then it doesn't happen very often, but there are some plants that are super strong and their roots will start to travel, and they will do whatever they can. It's crazy. They'll go through the little teeniest of cracks. Now, what I will say is these guys, I can also water from the top of them, but you can see they're still fragile. These guys are, some of them will bend down. So you want to be careful when you're watering around the top of them. I never pour water in on top of any seedling. The only time I ever do that is when I'm actually transplanting them and I soak the hole that I'm about to transplant them into. So, but that's a good question.
So we have, I think, two follow-on questions related to water. So one was about the mat. I think you were showing a mat.
Yes.
And
You
what
wanna see the
material?
mat?
Yeah, what material works best for that?
So that is a great
and-
question because they
Yeah.
sell it online. I had one out. Here it is. Okay. They sell it in rolls and they sell it in sheets. And for me, when I purchased the kit, they last quite a while and it comes with it. It's, I'm drawing a blank on what it's called now, but I'm going to pull it out so you can see it. It is just the absorbent mat that goes down into the water. So that's the thing, is you have to make sure that you have enough water at the base for it to absorb it and pull it up. And then it sucks it. I love this stuff. I'm just don't know why it does it, but it does. It soaks it up. And then it's right at the base of all of the little, all your seeding yourself.
Yeah.
And and it's great because then it pulls up what it needs. It's kind of like a sponge, but you do. Well, I'll find out. I forget what it's called. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. But this mat, I probably have it in my notes. But it comes with the seedling kit already. I did have to purchase some, and I bought them in sheets only because the roll was just too much. I didn't need all that, so I was like, I just didn't buy that. It's just easier. It's already the right size if you can buy them in the sheets.
Yeah.
And they sell them online, but Gardeners has them as well.
Okay.
So, but also, like I said, the guy from Ace, like he would probably be able to find that for me and buy them too. So it's great to just check locally first.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Do you have any thoughts about spray bottles? from the top is sort of like a,
Yeah.
it's gentle, like you were talking about the Poland Spring bottle. Um,
Yeah. So spray bottles is something that people have a very dry house, and sometimes I have my spray bottles. I don't use them because down here it gets so moist, and especially
mhm,
because I grow so much, I've never had a problem with the humidity.
okay.
It's almost like I need to get the humidity out. But the spray bottles are good. I would say that they're just not, um, it's not what I rely on.
Mm,
And I know that but I will say this, it is fun for the kids to use the spray bottles at school. So I have spray bottles there,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
so, 'cause it's fun. They want to, play with the spray bottles. Then most of it's just spraying each other. So,
Yeah, yeah. Um,
um,
there's two other questions related to lights.
yeah.
If you want to, I don't know what your setup is. If you want to take them now, or if you have other.
Well, I just had a couple quick things to go
Yeah,
through, and
go
then
for it.
I'm free to take. I wanted to make sure I talk about the blinds because there's a certain kind of pen I buy, and it's sun for this in the sun, and then I buy, well, first of all, blinds. Everybody has extra blinds, so we use blinds around here, and it's super easy to cut them. And I'm just going to show you the pen. It's super easy to cut these, and we use them all different sizes because then you can just, there you go. And then the pen that I use for these, now I have dirt all over me, is there's a permanent garden pen. You can get these anywhere. You can write on it. The only thing is that I've not seen them in color. So I always use Sharpies because then I can sucker my kids into doing all my labels. Because I'm telling you, you're going to have so many plants and seeds and seedlings. You're going to want help doing all the labels because it's like, it can be maddening. I'm lucky I have children that I can force to do that. All I have to do is give them Roblox, Robux or whatever it's called. Okay.
So we did have
Then,
one question about the blinds.
oh yeah.
Someone had mentioned. I'm trying to scroll back through the chat. Um, Somebody was mentioning that they believe that some of the imported blinds might have some lead coating on the blinds. And
Oh,
have you
good.
looked into that at all? Do you have any
Yes.
recommendations for ones that might be a little bit safer?
Yes. So don't there are some that you cannot use. And if it doesn't come in a box, don't use them. These are ones that are not that we checked, and they're newer. So the
Yeah.
old ones, if you don't know where they came from or know the person who's giving them to you, I would recommend not using them. That's right. Thank you. I actually left that off my notes. So I'm glad someone said that.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks to Joanne. Yeah.
yeah. And then one of the other important things is you can do these with just double-sided sticky tapes. You're going to have little tiny bugs, and you're just gonna have to deal with them. I buy these, they're just the tags, the stands that you put into flower arrangements. And then I put the sticky tape. I just do this and I put them in, and you take the tape off the side, not the tape, the plastic coating, and then it's a double-sided sticky tape. And I stick these in one of the seedlings on each tray, and you catch all those little bugs. You're gonna have little bugs. Just it's a no. You can't get around it. Um, and But normally they're harmless. They're little ones. They probably wouldn't even be a problem, but because I have so many seedlings, that's why I make sure to use double-sided sticky tape has also worked. These I get from Gardens Alive. If you don't know about that site, you should. They're great too. They have a lot of great products that really are beneficial to the garden, and they really care about things that are all organic. Um, so that, and then let me just make sure. So the blinds, water bottle, yogurt cups, heating mats. Okay, and then if you are going to do a seedling setup, I just want to make sure that I think I've said this already, but you want to be near access to go in and out of the house easily, or school, because you're going to need to harden them off. 24 cups per boot box that I get at Container Store. that boot box is great because it is the right size for me to get through a door. You know, I used to do them on wider ones and I could never get through the door. And it was like I would lose like 10 seedlings a day trying to go in and out of the darn door just to like harden off of them. And yeah, so that was, you know, that was not fun. And then also just make sure you're near water. And then I would say with the mess, just it's going to be messy. Don't try to be spotless. Don't just embrace the dirt, embrace the mess. When I come down, it's so strange because when I said this is, I was telling someone, I'm like, this is like my nightmare. I'm letting them come into like my little hobbit home because there's dirt on the floor. There's dirt. When you come down here, you smell the basil, cucumbers, and earth and the soil, and it's really. I used to care about it being so neat and clean, and I'm like, I stopped doing that, and I love. That's when I was like trying to do a lot of seedlings, and it became stressful. Now I come down and I'm like, I love it. I feel like I'm just connected to something that I feel like it's just unlucky. I'm lucky to have it. So embrace the mess. And that's what I will end with. And then I will answer your questions. And I hope that I hope I gave you some good tips.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And just from my perspective, it doesn't look messy. It
Oh,
looks like a
no,
basement, but doesn't
no,
look
I told
messy.
Annabelle. That's only because I swept. I said I haven't swept this area in like 5 years. I can't believe it. There was so much dirt. My husband, I was about to use the vacuum cleaner, and he's like, "Oh no, that'll break the vacuum cleaner. Don't do that."
I think it looks great. Um,
Thank you.
so let me go back through the questions here
Yeah.
because there were two about, let's see, so I think related to the lights in the shelves. So one is about the middle shelves and how many inches of height between them. And then I think sort of related, one about grow lights with the different colors. And let's see, somebody purchased a light that came with no instruction, not sure what color is for what. It came
Oh,
with a blue, a red, a yellow, and a
I
white.
it's tricky because I've heard in the grow systems that they recommend or they do different lights, different color
Yeah.
lights. Um, But when I first started, I didn't have money to buy those seedlings, the setups like that. I was like, oh no, I got to find something cheaper if I'm going to do this. So I never purchased those types of light bulbs. Um, this works for me. These are just they're daylight light bulbs,
Mm,
and they work. I know that when I did used to buy a cool one and a warm one, but I found that I was like, why at the kids' schools? And I was like, why are their seedlings growing better than mine? That was because we had just the daylight light bulbs, and that's all we used.
yeah.
Um, and that's what trust me, I went and I figured it out because I was like, why are their seedlings better than mine? I was like, that's not good. I'm a little jealous. But so, and that was the only difference.
Yeah.
And so I have not found that has played a role in the success or unsuccessfulness of growing the seedlings.
Okay.
So that's fine. If you have it, I would just balance it out. I would still use it. I would recommend using it, but I would balance it out with a stronger, whiter daylight
Mm,
bulb if you
yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Um,
Perfect.
and then the
And
other part of that question was the shelving height.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
And then if there's time, I will just mention how I organize my seedlings if we have time. My seeds. Sorry, I forgot about that one thing. But the height of the shelves. So what I did was I based that off of um, 2 inches from. So you need to think about your grow kit, whatever size you're going to use, and then think of when you take that lid off, some seedlings might still be pretty small and some will be bigger. And it all just depends on when you think you're going to transplant them into yogurt cups or pots. For me, because I do that now, I'm doing this more. Um, I do it more regularly, so I don't leave the seedlings in too long because I don't have a lot of those seed kits. So I'm going to need them to start, like I started my tomatoes, but now after the tomatoes, then I'm going to have to use them for something else, the cucumbers in a little while. So everything is just kind of evenly spaced out when I'm growing. Like I
Mm.
started my peppers first and my basil and things like that. So now they came out and I put in then the tomato seeds. So I would gauge it on about 2 inches on top of the grow kit. So on top of this, so you've got your grow this
Yeah.
2 inches, and then think about how much you want to grow,
Mm.
because you need to know that the 3 shelves works for me because I'm going to grow a lot, and I have two systems here, two setups. You may not need all that. You may be able to get away with 4 shelves. So kind of just measure it out. You want one shorter and one taller, because you think about tomato seedlings. They're going to be big, and you can't
Yeah.
have a light right on them. You need another couple inches.
Yeah.
So make sure your bottom one is going to be sufficient in height that you can do that, because you need to give it space.
Yeah.
Because last thing you want to do is when your seedlings, your tomatoes are beautiful and perfect, but it's still, if you're in New England, it's still too cold to get them outside. Where can they grow if those grow
Right.
lights are right on top of them? There's no place for them to grow. And all of that hard work, they will start to become leggy and they'll burn and you'll have other issues. You
Yeah.
don't want to deal with that. So
Okay.
err on the side of having more space than less.
Got it. And then one other question just came in. Do you use, like when you bring them outside, do you use cold frames to actually acclimate them? It's a good question. Kind of
That's a
sounds like
great
a
question.
very generous way to acclimate them to New England, like you were just
Oh
mentioning.
my gosh, can I just tell you, I would love to have a cold frame. I would love to have something like that. And I'm going to tell you that Annabelle taught me something in the fall. I watched your workshop, Annabelle, from Trustees. She had this great system. If you can get her a link to that, she taught, I have not made it, but she taught people how to make an inexpensive cold frame kind of. For me, what I do is
Mhm.
I set up, I have the row covers.
Yeah.
So I go in and out with them. I mean, I baby them. I make it last like a good 10 days. My husband, it drives him nuts because he's helping me bring them in and out every night and in the dark at night or whatever. But I bring them in and out, and then um obviously in the shade to start, just 1 hour a day, and then I up it to a couple more in the shade over a couple of days. Then I put them in the sun, and with this, for a little bit of that and shade and even it out. And then, like when I do leave them out the first couple nights, um, I put the row covers on because they're very vulnerable. There are a lot of little bugs that will, and we're in Boston, so there are other things too. We have like bunnies and stuff that will eat them down to the ground within
Yeah.
just one night. So the row covers help with that, and then it also helps because caterpillars will come. What is it? The cabbage worm is one of the
Yeah.
first things that the moths come in, lay a lot of eggs early on, and then you'll have problems later. So that also helps with the row covers. The row covers
Exactly.
keep them from doing that. Um,
Perfect.
but for warmth after that, no. I These babies, you got it. I've done enough for you. Now it's your turn. You gotta grow.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really helpful. So
Yeah.
let's see, there's a few other things in the chat. One other question I see, do you use the system only for seed starting, or do you also do microgreens and herbs in
Oh,
off season?
okay. That's great question. Oh my gosh. You guys are like seeing right into my brain. Okay. This is, so do you see on the second shelf? I do lettuce in that. I have a couple lettuce boxes. I also used the boot boxes that I showed you, and I use those to grow lettuce and some kale and stuff. I just put a little dirt in. They don't need a lot of space. I take dirt that I already have outside, put some seeds in, and it grows through. Now, it does get cold down here, so it's not like you can grow tomatoes or anything that needs to be
Right.
warm. But lettuce I've grown, and that's actually lettuce. Those are microgreens starting on that second one. Can you see the second shelf
Yeah.
over there?
Yeah, the little wooden, yeah.
And I have a couple of those and I put them outside. And so I bring them in the fall. And normally, sometimes I just just throw some seeds in it, mainly because I can then just bring it out to the chickens in the middle of winter when they don't have anything green to nibble
Yeah.
on. But yes, we could also eat that too. But yeah, I give it to the
Yeah.
girls. I give it to my girls.
So we're at the 10-minute mark. So we'll try to be, I think, efficient here. One other question about maybe the cells. And
Yeah.
you were mentioning sort of having that guarantee when you move them to the yogurt containers of having, 24 cells, 24 yogurt containers. Does that mean that you put just a single seed into each of the cells?
No, I do. I do put more than one seed,
Okay.
and and especially if the seed is like a more than a year old, I
Mhm.
put a couple of seeds in. But then I go in with little tiny, tiny scissors, and I'll trim them. Here, let me just show you one.
Yeah.
Oh, like I have to do it here, actually. Now you can see these did really well, even though these were tomatoes. These are a couple of these are from 2019, and I still was able. I I don't usually put this many in if I know it's from 2021, if it's prepared for 2021. But this one, these actually did. Can you see my home? These did pretty good, which I'm
Yeah.
surprised. Some of them, and real quick because I know we're running out of time. So I will go in and I'll just cut. Never pull, never pull, never pull, because you'll pull the
Okay.
roots of the other ones. I just cut those, and that's super easy. But that's a good one of the things I make sure to do. Everybody needs their own garden binder. I hope everybody has their own garden binder. But and make it your own. I'm telling you, pictures online, just print them up, put them in there, make it your own. And that's the best advice I can give to anybody is this is different, definitely different from someone else's. But I keep a growth chart. I'm going to show it to you. So you can see, I keep track of like what I add and what I grow. It's right here. Okay. I'm a little crazy because those are all tomatoes and that's not even all the ones I do. Okay. And this is just, I use scrap paper for everything. That's another thing I use. Just scrap paper from everything, from work and stuff. I just use, you only need one side. So then I go in, so then I keep, there's more tomatoes. I keep a chart and I also write down what year that so I know that coleus is from 2020. So
Yeah.
I know that when I go back and look at my notes or I follow up, I put that in so that I know, oh yeah, that, of course, that's not, okay, if it was from 2019, that's why it didn't seed and it didn't germinate because it's an old seed and it shouldn't have worked. But that's one of the things I like to keep track of because sometimes you'll start your seeds and you'll think like, why is there a whole tray? And you'll think it was something else you did, but
Right.
it can be as simple as that it was just an old seed.
Yeah. Um, so I guess one additional operational question is, will you have a handout that you could share?
Yeah.
That would be great. And hopefully Annabelle will be able to facilitate distribution of that.
Yes.
So on that note, I will say that anyone who registered should have a link to a folder that has handouts, and we'll be adding additional material as well as
Perfect.
all of the recordings for all the workshops. And if you haven't registered, I will send another link in the chat. I know some people just got the program, but that will give you access.
Right. I'll make sure to put this in there, and you guys asked some great questions, so I'll add that to whatever I put together.
Perfect. Any
Right.
last questions? I don't see any in the chat. 6 minutes to spare.
And I'll
You're
tell you,
getting
I'm telling you,
great feedback.
oh, good. I just embrace the mess, embrace that it's going to be dirty, and then also, I'll just add
Oh,
that
yeah.
your seeds. So whatever seedling, whatever your seeds system is, one of the things that I like to do is I put the year right on it so I don't have to try to find the information in the back. What I want to know is what year it is quickly so I can get to it. And this is just for now. Normally I keep them in jars through the winter because I like to preserve them,
Yeah.
but and seal them off. But for now that I'm growing, I take them out, I put them in boxes, and this makes it super easy for me. You know, I already planted my snap peas. I started my snap peas inside, got them all wet and soaked up. 2 days after that, on St. Patrick's Day, I already planted them outside. I'm never on time, by the way. It's only because of COVID and I'm home. So it's like I'm never on time. So do not think that that's normal for me. It's not. Anyway, but just make sure that the information that you need is just easy. And I always put down like done. When it's done, I move it to the done area. So I don't have to keep going through all of my seeds because I have my tomatoes that I keep separate from my flowers. I have everything, but I also put on there, like when I want like this one. Okay, so I know already that when I'm going to plant that, what year it's from, and I know, okay, I've got to get that on my list, put it in my thing, and I know, okay, on April 1st, I might want to start the lanterns.
Right.
That's
So
all I would. Any other suggestions?
a couple of final questions are trickling in here.
Yeah.
So 3 of them. So what's the favorite plant you've ever grown?
Oh, who put
I
that
know.
in there? Oh my gosh, I'm not prepared. Favorite plant. Well, I have to say I love dahlias. So I always start my dahlia tubers. They're so hard to get your hands on dahlias. If you are a dahlia person, I'm telling you, you have to start shopping in mid-December. So like, I forget buying gifts from anyone in December for Christmas. I'm buying dahlias, and it's all about me. So I love dahlias, but I have to say that I love any cucumber because cucumbers. I don't know if you've ever started cucumbers from seed. They always smell like cucumbers. Like the minute it sprouts, you can just be walking by and you just smell the cucumbers, and they can be the tiniest little seed, the little sprout. I mean, it's
I
amazing.
love that. I love that you chose it for the smell while it's starting. That's great.
It's so crazy. But then again, this is right next to my laundry area. So this is a bonus. Like you smelling a cucumber and not dirty socks.
Exactly. Have you ever experimented with blocking? I think that's a good question. I've only learned about this recently. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
So blocking is where you take it's already like a cell, but it's all one block, right? Isn't that what that is?
Yeah, they've got those. They're like a metal thing, and I think it essentially like compacts the soil into squares, right? Cubes, I should say.
I'm envious of that. I look at that and I think, but I have something that works for me, so I don't want to change it. This has worked for so long. I have grown hundreds of seedlings a year. We had seedlings sales. We grew so many. We would sell them for the kids. We had so many. So while that can work if you're just starting out, you maybe investigate that a little bit and check into it. But that could work. But then everything else I would do would have to change as well.
Right.
So I'm not up for that at this point.
Okay. And with 2 minutes to spare, one last question. Do you use empty, or do you have any advice about empty salad containers to make mini greenhouses? So like maybe putting them like upside down.
I have seen that. I haven't done it, but that looks great. I would suggest, because they're the plastic black bottoms, right? With the top that's round that fits over it, right? I'm pretty sure that's what they mean. And I have seen that, and it looks great, but I cannot. I would think that it would work. Yeah. It looks like it would work. I actually think that's a great idea. So yeah, if you can, anything you can recycle and reuse, I'm all for. And just trying new things. That would be a great idea to do with the kids at school. So thank you for that. I might try that. Not that I'm back in the school, not that I can go in for a while. It's a bummer.
All right. Well, I think we're right at time. I think we've wrapped up most, if not all of the questions.
Great.
So Kim, this was really fantastic. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. So thank you. And we seem to be getting positive feedback coming in, super helpful, and people are thanking
Good.
you. So,
Well, if it's negative, I don't want to hear it. So
well,
just
okay, fine.
no, but
Kirsten,
anyway,
job well done.
no, but please check out, I mean it when I say check out Michael Twitty's conversation with Annabelle the other day. It's so important that we listen and that we hear from people who grow different foods from us. I mean, I know we have to go, but I'll say one thing that stood out to me that he talked about, it went right into my core, was when he said, you know, United States, we weren't supposed to, all of us, be here growing all of this stuff together. And he said, isn't it a blessing? Isn't it kind of a gift that we all get to grow from all these different backgrounds and grow in as a community, all these different types of things? And I thought, what a profound way and a beautiful way to see that. And I think we're lucky that that we can do that, because I grow very different things. And, you know, I have friends that grow other stuff for me. And it's, you know, it's just to see them all growing side by side, I think is interesting. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a great way to end.
Kim, I'm gonna hop off, but thank you so
yeah,
much. Just want to note that we found Kim by reaching out on Boston area gardeners and seeing what our local experts could offer, and this is really inspiring me to remember how much expertise is in the community, and it's been such a pleasure working with you, and this was just so great. So thank you so much.
well,
I'm gonna
I hope
hop off
everybody,
and Kim can
I hope that it was helpful, and trust me, this will not be this clean in a week. All right, thank you so much,
Thanks,
Kim.
Kim. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye.